Parsha 101, Haftarah 101. This week's Haftarah is for Parshas Toldot. Parshas Toldot is mainly the story of Yitzchak, Isaac. So within it, it's going to mention the birth of his sons, the twins, Yaakov and Esau, Jacob and Esau. And that's where the connection comes in to this week's Haftarah. This week's Haftarah is taken from the book of Malachi. Malachi was the last of the prophets. And basically it's the last of the book of the Tanakh, of the written Torah. And his prophecy comes at a time when it's the rebuilding of the second temple. Because after that prophecy, it all changed. Things were different then. And so this is why he's like the last one. And kind of part of the prophecy kind of tells us a little bit about the time he lived in. But it starts off with God saying, so this is going to be the prophecy now of Malachi to the Jewish people. And God says, I loved you. I loved you. So theoretically, people could have, what do you mean? How did you love? How did you show your love for us? So he says, because there was Yaakov and Esau, and I chose Yaakov, and I hated Esau. And the general idea is, because they were twins, you can't say like, well, why did God choose one and not the other? It's not lineage. They both came from the same parents. So you can say, well, maybe it was their actions. But we're talking about God making this choice. That's the choice, that's this eternal testament, etc. It's not just going to be like, okay, how did Yaakov behave today and how did Esau behave today? Because you go get descendants later on and say, okay, well, how about how they're behaving now? How they're behaving now? Rather, the choice that God made of Yaakov over Esau is an essential choice that goes to the core of God's being, where this and that doesn't matter. This part of God that's making the decision is so far removed from the world and the actions of the world and everything that's going on here, because essence of God, it's that far away and removed. So, which means that this choice that God made of Yaakov, choosing, it's an essential choice. It comes from his essential being. That says, this is what I'm going to choose. There's no way we could really understand that choice, but only know that it's a testament to that God has made this eternal choice of Jacob, of Yaakov over Esau. So speak a lot of that, but then it actually goes into a little bit of rebuke to the Jewish people, because again, this sort of mirrors the time that he lived in, where Hashem is telling them off, what are these sacrifices that you're offering to me? You're offering me, sick and the weakest of the crop and not good stuff. And the priest, he speaks now to the priest, you're supposed to be the example to the people. I made this covenant with the priest that in your commitment and service to me, you're supposed to be people of truth, etc. What is this subpar sacrifices? The temple, the Beis HaMikdash that you're building now, this is a beacon to the whole world. So we don't do subpar here. We don't do subpar to God. Would you give this to your governor? What would he say to this puny sacrifice? So sort of how God's telling it off over here. Which also, it's a general idea that introduces that when we do a mitzvah, we should offer the best of the best for the mitzvah. We shouldn't skimp on doing a mitzvah or think that, okay, I'll get a knockoff version or brand or something for it. We should always commit and do the best for that. So God does assert that when you will return, and we'll get back to offering the best of the best and remember what this is all about, then that reaffirms the commitment, etc. And that's basically this week's Haftorah.